He has been my friend, my buddy, my fellow legislator, my congressman, my president pro tem of the Senate. He's now, for the second time, the state party chair. But more importantly, he is very, very unusual as an elected official. He absolutely cares enough that under all circumstances, he makes people first. And as I've often said in the caucuses when I presided and he was there, I always knew where the conscience of the caucus would ultimately be, and that was with John Lowell Burton. Happy birthday, John.
Where's Juanito and McCullough? They go home? Yep. Okay. Come on up here. There's one, there's two. Where's McCullough? McCullough? Where's my granddaughter? Anybody see a little girl with a dress on? McCullough? There she comes. Good job. Like most of you who've been at any of these events know my daughter Kim, of course. And my granddaughter Michaela. My grandson Juanito. He's developing a hell of a hook shot, so the Warriors, the way he's grown, he's going to be about 7'2". But I'm very proud of her, to say the least. I'm proud of these two, so you can either stand or sit while I go through my stuff. I'm going to be close. First of all, I really want to thank Dana Carvey for doing what he did. I thank Governor Brown for coming tonight. He's got a lot of things he's got to do, but the fact that he cared enough to come here tonight, I greatly appreciate. We have a very symbiotic relationship. 1974, I was chair of the state party. He got elected governor. In 2010, I was chair of the party. He got elected governor. I don't know what the heck we're going to do, and needless to say, I take credit for most of it. And first of all, I want to disassociate myself from any of the remarks made by Dana Carvey about the lieutenant governor. Thank God his father Billy wasn't here to hear it. Anyway, and my beloved member of Congress, Nancy Pelosi, and to Willie Brown, we've been together so long, we're like an old married couple. We have more fights than most married couples. But if one of us ever needed anything from the other, all they would have to do was ask. A couple times we got to a real problem. because he forgot to ask me. I forgot to do what I was supposed to do without his asking me, and it took about 3 years for him to finally say what the hell, bygones are bygones. But you can't be honored by a friend, but I'm just overwhelmed by a friendship. And I knew once I showed him the picture of he and I in Santa Claus outfits, I had him booked. And that was at a red tie thing put on by Vaughn and Angelos and Giacomo, Christmas 1982. And you can see by the color of my hair and by the fact that he had some hair, that was many years ago. I've had birthdays that I can really remember. I can remember my 21st birthday because I scored 20 points against USF when Bill Russell was playing for them. He only did play a half. But more importantly, my date was a girl named Ethel Willis. When she walked in the Kezar Pavilion, both teams that were taking lay-ins stopped and just stared. Rather hot. My 40th birthday, we had hot dogs at the Hilton Hotel with Tommy Smothers. Big price, $40 for a Nathan's hot dog. On my 50th birthday, it was my last birthday in Congress. They were supposed to have one of those, tributes to people that are leaving. And I had the flu and never got there. My 70th birthday, got one of my great fantasies fulfilled when the great Keely Smith performed at the party. My 75th birthday, it rained like hell, and Warren Beatty and Annette, who were supposed to be the guests of honors, were flying in a private plane and couldn't make it. And now we've got our 80th birthday that's here to raise money for my foundation. First of all, I want to really thank from the bottom of my heart Melanie Blum, who just did all of this work. And Angie Tate and Sean Wesley also. From the foundation, Diane, Amy, Simone, and Andre are the ones that do the work that make it all happen. I want to acknowledge, there's a lot of people here, but I do want to acknowledge a friend of mine who came all the way from Georgia to be here, former member of Congress, and the guy that drove me to the airplane on my way to rehab, Dawson Mathis. I do want to thank Nancy Pelosi because her congressional campaign got me back into politics. I want to thank Willie for calling me and asking me to run for the assembly one more time when I didn't want to. What got me to be the pro tem and do things that only leaders in the legislature could do. I really kind of want to thank my mother's mother, who I was told by my older brother that grandma was a mark. And I said, what did that mean? And it meant that during the Depression, if, as they call them then, hobos would knock on a door and get a meal, they would leave a mark on the gate so that other people on the bum would know here's a place that would give you a handout. And that was my grandmother. And my father, we were walking down Market Street once, and in those days, there would be people that, now they're sight impaired, they were called in those days blind, and that played the accordion, and they'd have a cup, and I remember him putting something, some coins in the cup, and I asked him what that was for. And he said, you never pass a blind man without putting something in the cup. And that's something that I've never forgotten. But first of all, there's a lot of former foster kids here. Would they all stand up, please? Really, all of you now. They're really heroes. statistics show that 50% of the people that age out of the homeless or out of the foster care system become homeless. Some of them end up in jail or on the streets. And for those that have, it takes luck, but it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of guts for them to persevere and do what they do, to go to college, to better themselves, to better societies. It's really a great, great tribute to them. I want to tell you a few of the things that we'll hear, a few of the things that the foundation has done. Then I want you just to wait for a few minutes because we're going to hear from, just briefly, from two former foster kids. But we were responsible primarily for raising the aid. You're responsible because your money helped us do this. Without your money, trust me, we wouldn't have been able to do it. But we raised the federal age of assistance for foster children from age 18 to 21. And I don't know how many of you, came home from school on your 18th birthday and your stuff was on the doorsteps and where you were living, they said, see you later, it's been nice knowing you, and you're on your own, and we were able to help make that happen. We were able to enact a program that provided testing for all students at the age of 16 in high school to see if they were either physically or mentally disabled, which meant if that was proven by the testing, they would have all of the paperwork done by the time they turned 18, that they would be eligible for SSI assistance as they moved on with their life. Because if they were 18 years old and disabled, not a hell of a chance to catch any social workers and know how to do the forms. We were able to provide in a housing bond $50 million for housing for aged out foster children. It was passed by Steve Glazer, if he's still here. We gave over $3.5 million for direct grants to programs for homeless and foster kids. We found out that kids that go to college at the university or the state college level, at the holidays, they closed down the dormitories because you all go home to your families. Well, these kids had no place to go, and they were hiding out in the closets or figuring out whatever. And when that was brought to our attention through the help of Dick Blum, who was then head of the Regents, and Charlie Reed, head of the state colleges, we got to keep the dormitories open during the holidays for these kids. There's a law that when a grandparent took in a grandchild and they got foster care money, but if they were living in government subsidized housing, they had to either give up the kid or give up the house, and got that dealt with. And then what we're doing, we keep up our advocacy, but we have started a program providing gift cards to the students that are in college, community college, universities, Safeway for food, Walgreens, the Gap was very generous to us, gave us $100,000 worth of gift cards, and then we matched that. The laptop computers, because I still don't own a computer, but I got along. But I mean, if you don't have a laptop and you're going to college, it's like when we were kids, you didn't have a pen. So these are the things that you help us do. And I'm so grateful to all of you that showed up for this event, that paid the money, tax deductible except $100 for the meal. You got Dana Carvey for nothing. And there are two young people that I would just like you to just give us another 6 minutes, and then it's all done. But Bonte and Rebecca, where are you? Are you here? Rebecca? are you? Where? Rebecca? She take a hike? Where is Rebecca? Are you coming up? Sure. And Bonta, are you here? Right behind me. Okay, these are two young people that have been through the system. Bonte's graduated from City College, going to state, wants to be in sports communication. And Rebecca graduated, she'd been through the system and then some, and you don't even want to know how many placements these kids have. I mean, I think a lot of you might think you're a foster kid, you get the one foster home, you're there, they bounce you around like a Mexican jumping bean. And they both of them been through many placements. Rebecca graduated with a nursing degree from City College. And she's now going to SF State to get a higher degree in nursing. And I took her up to Davis to meet Claire Pomeroy. This is a woman who's the head of the UC Davis Medical Center, who came up through the foster care system in Missouri and Kentucky. I mean, and what a role model she was to these kids, and what a role model these two young people are going to be to others. And they're just going to say a few words to you, but I hope you listen, because they are telling you not what the foundation means to them, but what your help means to them, because without your help, you know, the foundation would be a piece of letterhead and it wouldn't be doing much else. But because of your help, we're able to do things. And Rebecca,
good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank the John Burton Foundation for giving me the honor to speak here tonight. When Diane Matsuda from the John Burton Foundation asked me to speak, I was under the impression that maybe it'd be about 100 people or something. You know, okay, no problem, easy peasy. You know, Ronnie Lott's walking in the door, Willie Brown's here, and I'm just like, oh, God. Anyway, I'd like to start this speech off by telling you about the journey I've been on. Got out of foster care at about 18 years old, and when I got out, went back to my grandmother's house, and it was kind of a broken home. You know, my uncle's there, living there, he's kind of an alcoholic. My mom's going in and out of rehab, and so a lot of my friends were going to college and going to school, so I did it as well. But it was tough for me to go to college and go to school and think about, where the hell am I going to sleep at night? You know, you do homework, I don't even know where I'm going to sleep at night. So, stopped going to school, worked at UPS, went into management, started making some good money. Then I figured out, I don't want to be stuck in a warehouse all my life. I feel like I have a little more skill. So I went back to City College at the age of 26, which is tough. You know, I'm in the classroom, but thank you. Thanks. So I went back to school at 26, and I'm sitting here in the classroom with a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds. We're on a different maturity level, and I'm thinking, man, I'm never going to last. It's not going to work. So I ran into Michael Partland, who's the Guardian Scholars Program Coordinator at City College of San Francisco, and he recognized me from when I went to school before. So he grabbed me in his office and said, hey man, why don't you join my program? You know, you're eligible to do this and do that. So next thing you know, I'm getting book vouchers, I'm getting transportation costs, food vouchers, priority registration for classes, and I would have never made it without that, because I'm paying rent. You know, I'm no longer at UPS, I'm just working coffee shop jobs, just trying to make ends meet. And so that in itself just helped me tremendously. So I got into journalism, got into sports writing, big sports geek, always loved it. It's kind of what kept me out of trouble. And Mike McPartland introduced me to Zoji over at San Francisco State. And that's when it seemed like, real, okay, I'm moving on and I'm transitioning from school to school. I'm really, you know, trying to get my degree. And Mike introduced me to Zoji. That made the transitions easy. So now I'm at San Francisco State receiving the same benefits, priority registration, food vouchers, books, notebooks. I even got pots and pans for the house. Just little knick-knack stuff that I didn't have to pay for, which has helped me go through school very, very easy. I mean, it helped out a lot. So the John Burton Foundation, another great resource. They have the laptop challenge, which, all these students at City College, out in the East Bay, SoCal, we write these essays, an essay, and we become eligible for these fully stocked laptops, brand new, fresh. Didn't have to spend a dime on a laptop through college, which it's been a savior. It's been very gracious for it. My sister now is at San Francisco State. I hooked her up with the Guardian Scholars Program. She's a sophomore now. My little brother's going back to school, and this wouldn't be possible without the Guardian Scholars Program and the John Burton Foundation. So I'd like to thank everybody here for making it possible. For me, for every foster youth out there trying to get an education. Sochi, Diane Masuda, Marion, Mike McPartland, John Burton, I'd like to thank you guys for helping me with my journey and making it an easy transition and an easy pathway. Thank you guys.
Hello. I'm a little nervous, but I got some advice from Dana Carvey earlier, and he had more notes than I did, so I feel kind of good about this. 3 years ago this month, I met John at his event, the Burton Scholars Backpack to Success. You might have heard of it. I was just accepted to City College's nursing program, and I was really happy because it's very competitive, and I was on the wait list for about 2 years. John says that we would have never met if it wasn't for my nose ring. He came up to me and he asked me what I was going to do with my life looking the way that I do. And I replied, I'm going to be a nurse and I'm going to be the most awesome nurse ever. After his initial shock, he commented about my hair, and I had a mohawk at the time. So I took off my jacket to show him my tattoos, just to mess with him. I didn't know who John was. I was brought to the event because I was a former foster youth. As a former foster youth, you can kind of get used to going to events and doing the awkward song and dance routine for people who don't really know what it's like for what I went through. And they mean good, they want to do good, but they don't understand what my struggles were. But John, he wasn't like that at all. From the start, he talked to me like a person. He didn't talk down to me, and he didn't stereotype me from my background. And this was new to me. He wanted to know who I was today. If you met John, you understand that he sees small details that are very important that sometimes other people miss. About a year after meeting John, I started working at the foundation. I am still working at the foundation. I worked at the foundation while I finished up City College's nursing program, studied for my RN license, and got my nursing license in March. When I graduated, John even missed racquetball to come to my graduation because I had no other family member that would come and see me receive my degree. Today, I am attending San Francisco State's bachelor program for nursing, and like I said, I still work at the foundation. When I was hired, I wasn't the same person that I am now. I was very suspicious of people. I didn't trust people. I didn't even like talking to people. I didn't expect anything from anybody, and I didn't want to give anything of myself. Today, I feel like I'm a very proud and confident person, but working with John at the foundation gave me a different type of confidence. I learned how to make professional connections. And I'm more able to talk about my accomplishments. Sorry, maybe I'm not. Accomplishments. Like I said, a little nervous. And although I'm not ashamed of my background, I don't have that kind of, I used to be a former foster youth, please help me kind of attitude when I talk to people now. I look at my experiences as building blocks and something to move forward. And I actually feel like I'm kind of part of something bigger than myself, something like a family that I've never felt before. I'm more receptive to meeting new people, and I've learned new skills. Not only just talking to people, but I've learned how to talk on the phone. This is a skill that I hate to admit that I never had before. I was so anxious when I came to talking on the phone, and maybe because I didn't know the etiquette, or I was just afraid to talk about myself and talk to people that I didn't know. But I just only texted. So if you see me, after this, I would appreciate a text. Kidding. Fine now. But when I do second guess myself and I do get anxious, John always tells me, what do you have to worry about? The hardest part is already over. And he's totally right. John, of course, is talking about when I was a former foster youth growing up in the system, going from home to home. But I still remember what this feeling feels like. I see that hardest part when I go into the Guardian Scholars and see new foster youth trying to go to school. I see them when they're, just trying to do everything like everybody else, have a career and have a life. And this reminds me of the hardest part. Because I've been doing that since I started enrolling in school, and I did that on my own. This is why it's important for me to give support and encouragement to other former foster youth, which I do. And this is why John gives support to me. If I had no encouragement and no support from John, I would not be standing here and addressing you tonight. So thank you, John Burton, for all the support that you've given me. Thank you for not judging me for my colorful skin and my hair. And thank you all in the audience for helping John support me and other former foster youth. Thank you.
Anyway, so that's where your money goes. I'll give you one Rebecca's story. I love purple hair, all that stuff. That's what got me. If she would have had normal hair, I would have walked right on by. But I had to talk to her, see what's up. But anyway, she was very worried. I said, why are you worried? She had to take a driver's test. And I said, 5 years ago, if the biggest problem you had in your life was a goddamn driver's test, what would you have given for that? And she said, well, that was 5 years ago. The driver's test is next week, and I'm worried. Anyway, thank you all very much.